Okay, another type of dog that you can do is kind of like the wiener dog. And here's another kind of example of how you can use basic shapes to create the joints of the dog, kind of get the width and the placement of the head and the feet, and then starts off with the basic shapes. It moves on to starting to turn them more into shapes to create the body, making it look more like a dog, and then eventually going back in. And this one has a sweater that it's wearing. Then here's what it looks like kind of all together and in color. So to do the wiener dog in a sweater, what we'll do is we'll kind of start off. It's going to be a long type of dog, so we want to make sure that our paper is going landscape style instead of portrait like what we did for the bulldog. So to start with the wiener dog, we'll actually start over here in the top right corner and create the face for the wiener dog, or at least the head shape. So going back in, it's kind of like the shape of an 8, like a squash, I guess is the best way to put it. And then kind of work your way back up towards that starting point that we had. And that's kind of the face shape when it comes to this type of dog. And then because they're a long dog, their shoulder joint, we're just going to kind of represent it with a circle. And then this is going to help also take care of, the chest. So like this part would be the chest. This is going to be kind of like the start of the back. And this kind of gives you an idea of how the legs are going to be. And then kind of draw kind of like a dot in the center of that. Then we'll start to draw kind of a line going back. Kind of get the length of the dog. And this is going to be erased. This is just kind of like a guideline for us. So you want to make sure you draw it lightly. And then just like we did a circle for the shoulder joint, we're going to do the same thing back here for the hip joint for our little wiener dog. So we're going to do that by drawing a circle at the end of that line. And then you can start by forming the body just by taking a line, creating its back, making it connect kind of to like the top of the circle here. So that's going to create their back and a little bit of their neck. And then to start to create the paws and kind of like the legs and the shoulders, because these would be his arms, we would have a shape that would come down almost like a stretched out L shape. So this would be, like the top part of his arm, that would be the elbow, and then the bottom part, forearm, and then start to turn it into a paw. We're actually going to give him kind of 3 toes to make his paw there. It's going to start to flatten out a little bit to create more of a foot shape, and then work that back up to that kind of shoulder line and for the chest. So now we've got, this part's going to be his chest. We've got his leg or his arm starting off, and then with his paw here. And then we'll go ahead and draw the other paw that's on the other side. So the chest is going to be in front, and then kind of the chest is going to be overlapping this part. And because it's on the other side, it's not going to be as long and come all the way down to this paw here. So we're going to give him 3 toes again for this paw. Start to form that foot, and then take that line back up to his chest. So there we have kind of like the shoulder joint, and then the chest, and then the other paw as well. And then kind of doing the same thing for back here, kind of doing like his back legs. Going to have a shape that kind of comes from that center line that we drew. Going to come back to like this hip joint, and then start to come down to form the top of his leg, kind of like his thigh, and then come down to make his shin. I'll come down at an angle, start to form his little paw. 3 toes again. 1, 2, and 3. Start to form the foot for that one. Then we're going to kind of draw that same shape, follow that line back, kind of form the back of his knee there, kind of draw this line up to kind of create his bottom. So there's one of his back legs. Then within this region here, we'll be able to see a little bit of his other back foot kind of poking out. So we'll have his leg, create his foot, and then again 3 toes for the paw, then create that foot, and then connect those lines to go back. And then he'll have a little bit of a belly. That will start from that line, that'll be a curved line, come back this way and meets with that shoulder line in the front there. And then coming back up to this line here to start to form, his back, kind of like the top of his bottom. So drawing another curved line that's going to come back, and it's going to meet towards the top of this hip circle. And then he's got a little bit of a long tail for him. So we're going to go ahead and connect it. Start to draw kind of like this line coming down here. Make it kind of curved there. Just come up a little bit to taper it off a little bit more. Make that come down and around to meet the end of that shape as well. Now we've got his tail there. And then kind of work your way back up to the face. I'm kind of darken this in a little bit. And then to work on the ears, kind of like rounded triangles that sit on the side. They kind of come out and then taper down towards what would be like his chin. And then we're actually going to have this one kind of cover up a little bit of his face. So it's going to droop down in front of his head. So it's going to come up this way and then connect up here towards the top of his head. You can kind of go back through and erase that line and clean it up a little bit.
Morgan Bennett for pickup.
Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but this time we're going to let this side of his face overlap that ear. So kind of the same shape, keep it symmetrical, make it come down kind of like a triangle. Make it taper down towards kind of like his chin and then kind of go back up. And then go back in, kind of round that out and darken it in a little bit. And then start to darken in that face shape a little bit more. So now we've got the shape of their head. We gave him some ears, and then work on the rest of the facial features. Kind of the same shape as the ears, that upside down triangle. It's rounded to create his nose. It's going to be down here towards the middle of his face, down a little bit lower, but not so far down this way. And then kind of create like a little bit of a mouth for him. Start to draw a curved line on both sides. That way he's got that kind of muzzle look to him. And then you can actually, draw like his tongue sticking out if you want. Kind of draw this line back here and then draw the little crease. So now you've got his nose, we've got his tongue. And then one of the last things we gotta do for his face is to draw the eyes. So a little bit above the nose there, you can do some football shapes. Even giving some eyelids if you want. Do another circle inside there. And then another circle to kind of create like that pupil or the black part of his eye. Do the same thing on the other side. So by drawing some football shapes. Just doing a little curved line at the top of that football shape for the eyelid. Then draw a circle with another circle inside. And then to give these guys a little bit more of an expression, what you can do is you can add some eyebrows. So you can kind of give them like a little bit of a bushy eyebrow, just kind of creating a little bit like a rainbow shape above his eyes. And depending on how you put those will give him a different type of expression. So there is just the basic wiener dog, and then of course you can go back and kind of clean up some of these guidelines that we drew to kind of help us out. Now to make him fit more into your project, you can make him look like he's got a sweater on. And to do that, what you can do is most sweaters kind of have that band that is right there above the top of your pants or your shorts, whatever you're wearing with it. And we're going to make that band just a little bit wider because most sweaters are bulky. That's what makes them kind of that cozy feeling with the type of shirt. So we're going to create that band. And you kind of go back through and erase those other lines that are in there. And then just like we have that band here, we're also going to do that for the sleeves. So we're going to do that right here around his legs. So just kind of drawing curved line and another curved line. And then because it's bulky, we're going to draw and make it come out a little bit past his legs. So it's going to be like a little bit of a bulky sleeve. We're going to do that for both legs. Kind of thicken up this leg a little bit too. So we've got the sleeves, we've got kind of like the band that goes around the bottom of the sweater, and then he's got to be able to get his head through it. So we're going to have some type of collar to the sweater. So his head's going to be covering up some of it, but just like we did a band for around his sleeves and around the bottom of the sweater, we're going to also do one for kind of around his chest area to create that kind of collared look to him. So kind of make it a rounded line. It's going to show up a little bit here. It's going to wrap around his neck. Now we have that part, and then you can go back in and add different types of designs to sweaters. You can add polka dots to it. You can add stripes, and you can kind of decide. So I think since we did stripes on Bulldog, I'll do polka dots on this one. And it's going to look like the sweater is wrapping around his whole body. So there won't be whole circles on all of them. Some of them you're going to have to go back through and add little half circles where it looks like it's wrapping around. And then don't forget around his little legs, towards the front of his chest. Maybe put one up here and start to fill it in with different design elements just by drawing some shapes or drawing some lines. But whatever you decide to do on this part, like in the sweater part, we're also going to have to do on the sleeves. That way you can tell it's a complete shirt. And then if you want to make it look like there's kind of some folds in the sleeves and around those bands and in that collar, we can kind of do some like little lines. Make sure you're going the direction of how it's fitting the dog. So like for these ones, they're going to come at an angle from here at the band, and then also here. These are going to go vertical now. Same thing with these ones here. And then for the collar of the shirt, they're going to kind of disappear behind the dog's face. Start to follow the direction of the shirt and how it's hugging him. So there's still a little room up here. And since he's got a sweater on, maybe it's winter time for him and stuff like that. So kind of add a hat, just like we did a band for, around the sleeves and around this part. We can just kind of draw a band for up here on top of his head because that's where his hat's going to sit. And then kind of make it show up a little bit better. I'll go back through and erase those unnecessary lines in there. So go back in and erase those lines in that band. And then you can start to create maybe more of like a Santa hat even, by kind of sloping it down. Do the same thing for this side here. And then maybe add like a little fuzzy pom-pom looking thing on the end of that. So then there, he's got a hat, and he's got his sweater, and you can even go back in and add some designs to the hat. That way it's not just a solid color. So maybe from where I did polka dots on his sweater, I want to go back through and add some stripes. I'm going to try to go the same direction of how he's wearing his hat. Go back in and add those stripes there. So there's kind of like a wiener dog with a Santa hat and a sweater.